Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese. Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you a story called Cheng. In Hunan, there was a man surnamed Zhang who originally lived in Shandong. Towards the end of the Ming dynasty, Shandong fell into chaos, and his wife was taken by the northern soldiers. As he often traveled to Hunan, he eventually settled there. Zhang first married a woman in Hunan and had a son named Zhang. However, his wife passed away not long after, and he remarried, with his new wife giving birth to a son named Cheng. The new wife, Niu, had a very vicious personality. She harbored resentment towards Zhang, the son from the previous marriage, treating him like a servant and providing him with inferior food and necessities. Niu even forced Zhang to go up the mountain to collect firewood, requiring him to bring back a bundle of firewood each day. Otherwise, he would face scolding and beating. In contrast, Niu treated Cheng well, saving the delicious food for him and sending him to school. As Cheng grew older, he showed a kind-hearted nature. He not only was filial to his parents but also cared for his older brother. Unable to bear seeing his brother toil in such a manner, Cheng often privately persuaded his mother to treat his brother better, but his mother remained indifferent. One day, while Zhang was in the mountains collecting firewood, a sudden storm forced him to take shelter under a rocky cliff. When the rain finally stopped, it was already dark. Starving, Zhang carried the firewood back home. Seeing that the quantity of firewood was insufficient, Niu, in anger, refused to give Zhang any food. Exhausted and hungry, Zhang went into the house and collapsed on the bed. Just as Cheng returned from school, he noticed his brother looking listless and asked if he was sick. Zhang replied, "No, I'm just hungry." When Cheng inquired about the reason, Zhang truthfully recounted what had happened. Distressed, Cheng walked away, but after a while, he returned with a piece of bread, offering it to his brother. When Zhang asked where the bread came from, Cheng said, "I stole some flour from the kitchen and had a neighbor woman help make it into bread. Just eat it, but don't let anyone know." After eating the bread, Zhang cautioned his brother, "Don't do this again. If this gets out, you'll be in trouble too. Besides, even if I eat only one meal a day, I won't starve." Cheng replied, "You're already weak, how can you cut so much firewood every day?" The next day, after Cheng had eaten, he secretly went up the mountain to the place where his brother was cutting firewood. When Zhang saw him, he asked in surprise, "Why are you here?" Cheng said, "I want to help you cut firewood." Zhang asked, "Who told you to come?" Cheng replied, "I decided to come myself." Helpless, Zhang said, "Even if you knew how to cut firewood, I wouldn't let you do such rough work." So, he urged Cheng to go back quickly. Ignoring his brother's advice, Cheng used both hands and feet to help break the firewood. He told Zhang, "Tomorrow, I should bring an axe too." Zhang approached his brother, trying to stop him from working. When he saw Cheng's fingers scratched by the firewood and his shoes worn out, he sadly said, "If you don't go back, I'll use an axe to cut my own neck and commit suicide." Hearing this, Cheng reluctantly left. Zhang escorted Cheng halfway before returning home. After finishing cutting the firewood, Zhang didn't immediately go home. He went to the school and instructed the teacher. "My younger brother is still a child. You should keep an eye on him and not let him leave the school without permission. There are many dangers in the mountains, and I'm worried he might get hurt." The teacher said, "I didn't know where he went this morning, and I've already punished him by hitting his hands with a board." Zhang returned home and told Cheng, "See, you didn't listen to me and got punished." Cheng smiled and lied to his brother, "No, I didn't." The next day, carrying an axe, Cheng went to the mountain again. When Zhang saw him, he exclaimed, "Didn't I tell you not to come? Why did you sneak here again?" Cheng didn't answer and busied himself helping his brother cut firewood. He worked very hard, sweat streaming down his face, but he refused to take a break for a moment. When he had cut almost enough firewood, he left without saying a word. The teacher saw Cheng was late for school again and reprimanded him. Cheng explained the situation to the teacher, who, impressed by Cheng's virtue, no longer prohibited him. Despite Zhang's repeated attempts to stop Cheng from going to the mountain to cut firewood, Cheng just wouldn't listen. One day, Cheng went to the mountains with a few people to cut firewood again. Suddenly, a tiger leaped out of the forest. Everyone was terrified and quickly hid, but Cheng was a step too slow and was caught by the tiger. The tiger carried Cheng and ran into the woods. Because the tiger was carrying a person, its movements were slow, and Zhang caught up with it. Zhang raised the axe and struck the tiger with force, hitting its hip bone. The tiger, in pain, ran wildly, and no matter how Zhang chased, he couldn't catch up. Helplessly, Zhang returned in tears, and everyone tried to comfort and console him, but he cried even more sadly. Zhang cried and said to everyone, "My brother is not an ordinary brother. Moreover, he died for me. How can I go on living?" Saying that, he was about to use the axe to cut his own neck. Everyone hurriedly stopped him, but the axe had already cut his neck, leaving a wound over an inch deep, and blood flowed profusely. The combination of grief and the wound on his neck caused Zhang to faint immediately. Everyone was shocked, tearing off their clothes to wrap his wound, and then helping him back home. When Niu knew about this, she cried and scolded Zhang. She said, "You killed my son, and now you want to cover it up with a neck cut." Zhang groaned and said, "Mother, please don't be troubled. If my brother is dead, I won't live either." Zhang lay in bed, the pain in his wound unbearable, unable to sleep, just leaning against the wall crying day and night. Zhang's father was afraid that his only remaining son would also die, so he often fed Zhang a little food. When Niu saw this, she would scold the father and son loudly. So, Zhang simply stopped eating altogether, and after 3 days, he starved to death. After Zhang's death, his soul drifted towards the underworld. Along the way, he encountered a performer of the local jumping deity ritual in the village. He shared all his past grievances with the performer and inquired about the whereabouts of his younger brother, Cheng. However, the performer couldn't provide clear information, so they decided to return and search the underworld together. They arrived at a city in the underworld, where they saw a person in black clothes coming out. The performer stopped the person and inquired about Cheng's whereabouts. The person in black took out a register from his bag and carefully examined it. The register contained names of over 100 souls, but Cheng's name was not found. The performer suspected it might be in another register, but the person in black said, "This is my jurisdiction. How could I make a mistake?" Zhang still didn't believe it and insisted the performer accompany him into the city. As they entered, Zhang noticed new and old souls coming and going. He recognized some of the souls but couldn't find any information about Cheng. Suddenly, they heard a commotion, and the souls around shouted, "Bodhisattva is here." Zhang looked up and saw a massive divine figure in the sky. The Bodhisattva radiated light, illuminating the entire city. The performer congratulated Zhang, saying, "You're truly fortunate. The Bodhisattva visits the underworld only once in decades. Today, you're lucky to witness it." The performer pulled Zhang down to kneel. The multitude of souls clamored, reciting compassionate chants for relief from suffering. The noise was deafening. The Bodhisattva then used willow branches to sprinkle nectar throughout the city. The tiny dewdrops fell like dust. After a while, the mist dissipated, the light vanished, and the Bodhisattva disappeared. Zhang felt his neck, and the axe wound no longer hurt. The performer then led him back to the mortal realm. When they reached Zhang's home gate, the performer left. 2 days after Zhang's death, he suddenly came back to life. He recounted his experiences in the underworld to the Zhang couple and insisted that Cheng was still alive. However, Niu thought Zhang was fabricating lies to deceive her. Instead of believing him, she insulted him. Zhang, full of grievances and unable to explain himself, touched his wound and found that the axe wound had indeed completely healed. He struggled to stand up, bowed to his father, and said, "I'm leaving home to search for my brother far and wide. If I can't find him, I'll never come back again. Father, please consider me as already dead." Zhang's father took Zhang to a secluded place and wept bitterly but couldn't bring himself to keep his son at home. After leaving home, Zhang traveled to various transportation hubs to inquire about his brother. Along the way, he ran out of money, resorting to begging while continuing his journey. After about a year, Zhang arrived in Jinling. He wore tattered clothes and walked hunched over. One day, he saw more than 10 people on horseback passing by and hid by the roadside. Among the riders was a man who appeared to be an official, around 40 years old, surrounded by strong soldiers riding robust horses as guards. A young man among them continuously observed Zhang. Not daring to look directly at them, Zhang noticed the young man observing him intently. The young man suddenly dismounted, shouted, "Isn't this my brother?" Zhang looked up and, to his surprise, recognized the young man as Cheng. He held Cheng's hand and cried in sorrow. Cheng, also in tears, asked, "Brother, why have you ended up in such a state?" Zhang then truthfully revealed his experiences, and Cheng, upon hearing the story, felt deep sorrow. The mounted escorts dismounted to inquire, and then reported to the official riding the horse. The official immediately ordered a horse for Zhang. They rode together back home, and on the way, Zhang learned about everything that had happened after that day. On that day, after the tiger had carried away Cheng, he somehow ended up being abandoned by the roadside at an unknown time. Cheng lay on the road throughout the night. Early the next morning, Zhang Bijia, an official from the capital, happened to pass by. Seeing Cheng's refined appearance and feeling pity for him, Zhang Bijia took him along on the journey. Eventually, Cheng gradually regained consciousness. When he spoke of his residence, he realized he was far from home. Therefore, Zhang Bijia took him back to his mansion first. Upon returning to the mansion, Zhang Bijia used medicines to treat Cheng's wounds, and after a few days, he recovered. As Zhang Bijia had no adult sons, he treated Cheng like his own son. Currently, Cheng was accompanying Zhang Bijia on a tour. Cheng shared his circumstances with his newfound brother after learning about their relationship. They arrived at Cheng's residence. Just as they were talking, Zhang Bijia also entered, and Zhang kept expressing his gratitude to him. Cheng went to the inner room and brought out a silk garment for his brother to wear. Then, he arranged a feast, and the three of them enjoyed drinking and chatting together. During the banquet, Zhang Bijia asked Zhang, "I heard that your family originally lived in Hunan. Now, who is left in your family?" Zhang replied, "No one. My father was originally from Shandong, and he later moved to Hunan." Zhang Bijia said, "It's a coincidence, I am also from Shandong." "So, where in Shandong did your family belong to?" Zhang replied, "My father used to say that our family originally belonged to Dongcheng Prefecture." Zhang Bijia exclaimed, "What a coincidence! We are fellow townsmen. Why did your family move to Hunan?" Zhang explained, At the end of the Ming dynasty, when the Qing soldiers entered, they abducted my father's first wife. Faced with the chaos of war, our family's property was destroyed. Since my father frequently conducted business in Hunan and was familiar with the area, he decided to settle there. Zhang Bijia asked again, "What is your father's name?" Zhang truthfully told him. After hearing this, Zhang Bijia stared at Zhang for a while, then lowered his head in thought and hurried into the inner room. Shortly after, an old lady came out from the inner room. Zhang and the others immediately stood up and saluted the old lady. The old lady asked Zhang, "Are you Zhang Bingji's grandson?" Zhang replied, "Yes." The old lady suddenly burst into tears. She said to Zhang Bijia, "They are your younger brothers." Zhang and Zhang Cheng were puzzled. The old lady continued, "I married your father for 3 years, but we got separated due to the war. I wandered to the northern region, remarried the Black Flag master, and gave birth to your elder brother half a year later. After another half year, the master passed away, and your elder brother inherited his position due to his father's influence. Now, he has resigned from his official position. Because we constantly missed our hometown, we decided to disassociate ourselves from the banner and revert to the original family name of my husband. I sent people to Dongchang several times to inquire, but there was no news. Little did I know that your father had moved west to Hunan." She said to Zhang Bijia again, "You've treated your younger brother as your own son, that's just too bad." Zhang Bijia exclaimed. "I asked Zhang Qing before, but he never mentioned being from Shandong. It seems he doesn't remember because he was too young." So, the 3 of them were arranged in order of age. Zhang Bijia, at 41, became the eldest, Zhang Cheng, at 16, the youngest, and Zhang, at 22, transformed from the eldest in his original family to the second eldest. Zhang Bijia suddenly gained 2 younger brothers and was extremely delighted. That night, the 3 of them slept together and talked about the family's experiences, planning to go to Hunan together. The old lady was concerned that the family in Hunan might not accept her and her son. Zhang Bijia reassured her, saying, "If the Zhang family is willing to accept us, we will live together. If not, we will live separately. Since you are the legal wife, how can we avoid recognizing each other?" So, Zhang Bijia's family sold their property, prepared their belongings, and set off for Hunan on an auspicious day. Upon returning to their hometown, Zhang and Zhang Qing hurriedly went home and reported the matter to their father. Unexpectedly, since Zhang left, his wife passed away not long after. He became a lonely old man, living a solitary life. Suddenly seeing Zhang and Zhang Qing alive, he was overjoyed, hardly believing his eyes. Witnessing Zhang Bijia and his family arriving, the old man, too overwhelmed to express joy or sorrow, stood there in a daze. Zhang informed his father that Zhang Bijia's family had also come. The father, stunned by the news, stopped crying and stood there blankly. Shortly after, Zhang Bijia arrived, paid respects to the father, and the old lady, holding the old man, burst into tears facing each other. Seeing many servants and maids following them, the father felt uneasy and didn't know whether to sit or stand. Upon learning that the mother had passed away, Cheng, overwhelmed by grief, fainted, only waking up after a meal. Zhang Bijia provided funds to build a residence for the Zhang family and invited a teacher to educate the two younger brothers. Before long, the Zhang family prospered, with lively horses in the stable and laughter echoing in the hall, becoming a wealthy household in the local area. In the concluding part of this story, the author includes the following commentary. When I heard about this story, I shed tears several times from beginning to end. A teenager voluntarily going up the mountain to chop wood, helping his abused brother. It's truly reminiscent of figures like Wang Lan. So, for the first time, I couldn't help but shed tears. When the tiger took away Zhang Cheng, I cried again, exclaiming, "Is heaven also so blind?" When the Zhang brothers unexpectedly reunited, I once again shed tears out of joy. The Zhang brothers unexpectedly gained another elder brother, and I added a layer of sadness, shedding tears for Zhang Bijia's plight. A family reunion, unexpected encounters, unforeseen joy, my unbidden tears, and finally, shedding tears for old Zhang. I wonder if there will be anyone in the future who, like me, is so prone to tears? In this story, there is a mention of a person performing the jumping deity ritual. This practice is associated with shamanism, serving as a religious activity where an individual communicates with spirits or ghosts through peculiar dances. The dance is also employed for healing, divination, exorcism, and other spiritual purposes. These deities often wear masks, distinctive costumes, tie bells around their waists, and hold drums and whips during the dance. This religious activity is still preserved in many Asian countries to this day. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tale. Zhang Cheng. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.